Hi, it's Dave again with DRH Acrylic Creations. Today we're going to get down to the basics. And by the basics, I mean we're going to start from the very beginning, as in how I mix my pouring mediums and how I mix my paints, so that you can get an idea what it is I do off camera before we talk live. And at the end, we're going to take those paints and we're going to do something very simple. So let's see what we can get together, and without any further delay, let's get to it. Okay, my go-to pouring medium for quite some time now has been Vaspar Ultra, and I don't know if you can see this over here, but that is the high gloss base 3, down to the base C down at the bottom. I get that at Lowe's here in the States. And the second part of this is the Varathane Polyurethane triple thick. I am a small batcher. That's as big as I do at a time. And my ratios between the two, the Vaspar, the big can, gets you get 3 of those, and the Varathane, the smaller can, is 1. Sometimes the Vaspar can be rather thick, so that's the reason why I use the Varathane. It also gives it a consistency that I really kind of like. I like the smaller batches for the fact that I have control over if the paint has started to dry. Okay, so I'm going to put 3 of these. And what I use, for me, it doesn't matter what you use. All that matters is you use something consistent. This is just a ladle I picked up at the dollar store. 1. 2. 3. If I were to do more than this, I just double that. So I do another 3. Now for the second part. Both of these cans are getting kind of low to the low, so I'm going to have to go purchase some more. So I've done 2 sets, so I'm going to put 2 of this. So 2 sets of 3 to 1. So this is the 1. There's the first 3 that I put in. And we're doing the dregs here. This is the end of this can. But there we have, that's a second. And because these are both of them are transparent colors, or there's no color to them at all. It dries almost exactly transparent. So slight little milky appearance to it. I gotta go over there. Thought I saw that happen. Okay, and that's as simple as it gets for me. I mean, you can see the consistency. It leaves a mound on a mound. This is a lot thinner than some people like to work with. If I ever get to the point where I have a can that's just too thin, I can do simple things like add some gloss gel to it. I haven't had to do that. Or I can change up with my recipe slightly by adding some different paint. I have a paint from Home Depot that I get that is another one of my recipes, but I won't cover that now. We're going to just do this much, so I'll be right back. This is Bordeaux Red by Arteza, and as you can see by the little block here, it's opaque, meaning it's not see-through. I'm going to have my next two paint. Is you can see here it's halfway covered in, so there's half open, so that means it's semi-transparent. And this is Iridescent Light Gold by Amsterdam. This is Golden. This is another semi-transparent Cobalt Teal by Golden. And finally, a pigment is going to be TLP's Abalone. And this one is kind of, it's twofold because it also has a gold side to it. So it'll bring out colors in here and colors there. The red will be my standalone. It's a powerful red, so it has a tendency to take over. I'm hoping these colors will work for this. So let's get started. These have to be handled different than the two of these. So we're going to cover them from the easiest to the more difficult, more complicated, not difficult. So this is a teaspoon again. So I'm going to put in a teaspoon of my paint. Okay, to 3 teaspoons on my pouring medium. Okay, mix that up. I get these cups from floetrol. I get a lot of things from floetrol. Most of what you see here, minus the golden paint, was gotten from floetrol. You can see that's really still very thick, and it kind of washed out my color. Well, that's not to be worried about. I can add more paint if it's too thin. I probably could have started by putting in 2 rather than 3. But knowing these paints, I know that's what I'm going to need for that amount of paint. So you can see right now that is rather thick. I mean, that's leaving a mound on a mound on a mound. That's too thick. So what I do in that case, this little bottle here, I have my Joe Sonja Varnish. It's easier to handle. I can control it better. So, yeah, just a little bit. See if I can loosen it up. Some people go as far as to add water to their Joe Sonja, their Joa, as it used to be called. I try not to. I try not to add water to my paints because I don't want to degrade the amount of pigment that's in there. And water will break it down pretty easy. Not that it's wrong, it just can be tricky. It's glooping off of this. Flip that around. Better off the stick. It is definitely too thick yet. But it's leaving a mound on a mound on a mound. Still, it's lighter, it's thinner. I'm going to move ahead and into the Bordeaux Red. I'll put you on speed dial here and we'll get started. that consistency is much more like I like to see. So I'm going to have to thin this down significantly. Not sure why Amsterdam products are so much thicker, but they generally are. It's probably the binder they use as part of their pouring medium that they mix with. So that's that in a nutshell. I'll work on that off camera. Next, let's move into this is a high flow. It's not like because this is like what they mix when they make the tube paint up before they mix it up. So this is highly concentrated. So I don't need to do it. I don't need to do a full teaspoon of this. So I'm going to opt on the other side of things. I'm going to put like a half a teaspoon, and that might even be overkill. So let's pull it. I forgot to say, it's important to shake these things up because they are fluid. A lot of times the pigments will settle to the bottom. Okay, and my half teaspoon. The same way. And so you can see this how the pigment is with this. It's half as much. But yet the color is going to be the same as what it is in the bottle. It's just a matter of the pigmentation, how much pigment was in there. And because this was fluid when it went in, it's going to be a thinner mixture. And I need to thicken that up just a little bit. So what I do in order to thicken it up, I'll add a peanut size amount of, not a peanut, a pea-size amount of gloss gel. In this case, I'm going to be using matte gel. Matte gel actually acts faster. The gloss that they add to it actually makes it a little thinner. So this is the Liquitex version. There is a golden version also. See how little that is that I added right down here. Now it's just a matter of incorporating that into it. Generally, I don't like to stir this vigorously with my paints, especially if I'm going to use them right away, like I'm going to today. But this is demonstration purpose, so I needed to move ahead. And now you can see that I have the right consistency. That's all it took. Oh, so what we've gotten so far is you've seen how I thin it down and you see how I thicken it up. Hopefully the next one will be even more illuminating with this. We're going to be moving into pigments. This is this little Piggy. It comes as a fine powder. Usually I wear a mask when I do this because there's fine powder that will take airborne very quickly. So I'm going to stay as far away as I can. You see the powder. Take a little tiny scoopful. You can see the gold in that. That's how thin that, or how powdery that is. It really will take flight rather quickly. What I do is I loosen it up with just a little bit of Josonia. Took a second to clear that nozzle so I can use it. A little tiny bit at a time. all I'm trying to do, still a lot of powder in there, is turn that mica powder into a paste. Just trying to wet it enough so that I can work with it. And ideally, for me, and different people do different things, I like to make it thin enough or thick enough that it acts like a tube paint. That sometimes works for me, sometimes doesn't, because not all pigments are made the same consistency. That might have been just too much in there because it'll turn more to a liquid. That's just what I do. And there are no absolutes. And this, okay, you can see how thick that is now. It's more like paint. So to that, I'm going to add, like I didn't normally do, I'm going to add my 3. Okay. Bring that together. The thing is with pigments, as you wet them down, the color will really start to blossom. I'm scraping the sides. I am scraping digging at the bottom, getting in the corners, make sure I get all that goodness. So I'm getting a little bit off the lid. Powder is nasty. You don't want to breathe this stuff. Those powders, this is a mica. It's basically a mineral. So not basically, it is. And you know, they can be nasty. They can get in your, if they get in your lungs, they can stay there forever. There you go. If that needed to be thicker, I would do the same thing as I did with the fluid, the high flow. So there we go. I have a red, I have a gold, I have 2 blues. So this is predominant. This is the one I had to be careful with. So let me get a canvas together and we'll get to the next part. Next thing I'm going to put together is my cell activator. And the cell activator is really actually very straightforward. It involves 2 components. In this case, I'm going to do my Amsterdam paints. It's a high quality paint, highly pigmented paint is what you want. In this case, I'm going to be using, where is it? There it is. I'm going to be using my lamp black from Amsterdam and Unwieldy, my titanium white from Amsterdam, and they're mixed with Australian floetrol, the secret sauce. This stuff is gold. Whenever you use it, you should shake it, as with any other floetrol, but especially this stuff because it does settle. And I get mine at fluidart.co. I'll put that description down in the that link is down in the description. And let's put this together. For sake of explanation, I am going to use a measuring spoon, but it's the same thing as it is with my pouring medium. It doesn't matter what you use as your measuring device or whatever you use. It matters that they are the same. So I'm going to put one part of the paint part of the paint. You can see there. See how much it is. That's a teaspoon. To 2 parts. Right now we start with 2. And if we need more for consistency, that's when we add it. So you can always add more floetrol after the fact. So here's 1, and there's 2. Let's see how this looks now. Now I use 2 different paints, generally speaking. You can use, if it's highly pigmented, you really can use any paint. Now, I like to use opaque paints, otherwise paints that you can't see through, for my cell activators. They seem to work better. They seem to react correctly, better for me. Generally speaking, it's advisable, especially when you're first starting out, to use titanium white and one of the heavier blacks, because you can get consistent results and get an idea of how they're supposed to act before you branch off into other colors. It got really bubbly. But that is a 2-to-1, and I'm just going to leave it there. You can see that it looks rather thin here, but it has a body to it, and that's what I'm looking at, is the body. It's not necessarily how it makes a mound, or which you can get to, but it's not as important as the body of it. This has a lot of bubbles, so before I use it, I'm going to have to let it sit. I always cover mine up as quickly as I can, mainly because they do thicken up. And I find it's always better to have them cover up as quickly as I can. I'm going to do the same thing over with the titanium white. I'll speed this up so you don't have to sit through it as long. Okay, consistency needs to be mixed more. The consistency is basically the same, but the body is different. So it's the same, feels like the same thickness, but the body of it just isn't the same. So I'm going to add just a little bit more, maybe half a teaspoon. About half the amount. And that made a big difference. So that's my cell activator. Okay, get down to the canvas now. This is a 10 by 10 Dick Blick Premier Canvas, gallery wrapped. So let's get started with this. I kind of decided that I'm going to do a blowout today. I may end up doing a deconstructed blend. We'll see. But we'll see when we get to that point. As important as your paints are, your pillow paint is equally as important. Pillow paint has one function. It is there to support your color layer and to allow that color layer to float across the surface. That's it. The consistency of the paint is important. It needs to be It needs to be thick enough that it supports the paint, and stretchy enough that you can stretch it as far as the edges of the canvas. And you don't want it too thin, because if it's too thin, your colors are going to sink. And you don't want it too thick, because then it won't flow. So it's kind of a fine balance. I've been using this PPG Multi-Pro for several years. I picked up recently a container of Glidden Essentials, which is what I used before I found PPG, to do a comparison. I did a piece, I say last week, with it, and to be honest with you, the paint was too thin and it didn't dry well. So it happens, especially when you're in experimentation mode, which I seem to have been recently. So I think this is as good a time as any before I get launched totally into the pour. I want to thank you all, because I met a milestone today. I went over 3,000 subscribers, so thank you very much. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you. So, on to the pour. I'm going to put my darkest color down first. I'm going to put down a nice puddle here. My iridescent gold light. Plus gold in this Bordeaux red. Just bang. They're amazing together. Now this is a semi-opaque. So that's a light color. I'm going to go with my first blue, which is a darker color. This is my cobalt turquoise. The last color is the TLP. TLP all below me. Question is, what am I going to put next? I think I'd like to go with the white on the bottom and the black on top. It's going to make it rather dark. And I like the reaction I get with the two colors in that order. So let's go with the white. So people have asked me in the past, what makes that work? Why is it a paint that looks like it's so thin going down is what makes the cells? Well, it's easy. It's because of the chemical properties of what it's mixed with. It will sink very quickly. Those properties will sink very quickly. But the pigment will be left behind in rain. And that's the reason we get the cells with the Australian floetrol. You can get the same thing with the American floetrol or ortrol in Europe. But the Australian seems to be the most reactive. Now you can see that black is already starting to disappear. So I need to move. I'm going to pull up my hair dryer. It's going to get loud, so I'm going to turn off the fan. pull up my mini blower to do the detail work. I'll let that develop a minute or two. Exaggeration, a few seconds. See, I got some really nice cells already. Now, while this is developing, I'm going to pick up my skewer to possibly do some modifications. Do you notice that I didn't blow straight down? Generally, I blow from the side and as high as I can get till I get a hold of the edge of the cell activator, I blow across. And it took me a long time to figure that out, but once I did, it made all the difference. Okay, I think I am going to do some modifications. I'm just going to play in the paint. Okay, I don't want to go overboard. It's mostly on the outside, but you can see as I was doing that, my middle continued to develop. And the thing I noticed, I used two different paints for my cell activator right now. I used the Tri-Art titanium white and carbon black, and I also, as you saw me put together the Amsterdam. The difference between the two, the Tri-Art, without a doubt, reacts much quicker. Things start to happen much faster. Whereas this, the Amsterdam, moves slower. And so you have to adjust your speed accordingly. So I think when I spin this out, open my cells up just a little bit. I'm not going to spin it out totally. It's going to be just a light spin. I opened up a lot of cells in here, these little tiny baby cells, and I'm not unhappy with that. So I'd like to do some stretching. I'm going around in circles for us because the middle is where the most amount of blowing across happens. So I'm moving out that paint and giving it a chance to fill it up underneath. This is my theory, and that's my reason for doing what I'm doing right now. Okay. Centered again, and give it a spin. I'm gonna guess that my paints are gonna go in that direction, so I'm gonna move it over to the other side. Let's give it a nice spin. Check our depth in the middle. see that I have a decent amount of paint off. Am I happy with it? I've got pretty much equal, that's a little bit less, negative spaces in the corners. It doesn't bother me. I've got good coverage on the side. Good there. I am fairly happy with the way the paint has flown as far as the composition. Composition in this sense is the focal point, which is the middle, and a little bit of cells. I really love this over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean up a little bit, and I'm going to bring you down. So I'll be right back. I think for a demonstration piece, this came out as well as I could hope for. I'm hoping that you were able to get something out of the explanation of what I do with my present pouring medium, how I mix my cell activators, and then basically the general tips that I give throughout my videos. If you have any questions or anything you'd like to see me do, go ahead and drop a comment down below. And as always, if you have any questions at all of what I had and used on this video, that'll also be down in the description. So if you haven't done so yet, could you subscribe, ring the bell, and share if you got friends that might be interested. I want to thank you very much for being here today, and I hope that you really did get something out of this. So until next time, bye for now.